This is the 5th video in your training program, and this morning I think what I want to do is, and I'm going to read off some notes because I don't have it all memorized, but chapter 4 in Mary's book is about sharing your story. And I'm going to talk about something that you're going to say, how does that relate to telling my story? Well, it does. And so you guys all know that I'm a big advocate of standing up for yourself and drawing boundaries and believing in who you are, because we have a tendency to make up these stories about ourselves in our heads. In certain situations, around certain people, whatever, that we're not good enough, or that we're not smart enough, or not pretty enough, and we convince ourselves of whatever the story is that we're making up in our head. And so what I want to share with you is, not only do we do that, but other people in our lives make up those stories, and they believe them in their heads, and instead of talking to you about it, what happens is generally they'll tell that story to somebody else. And anyway, and that somebody else may come to you and tell you what they said. And generally, we as humans are going to say, okay, so they said that, and it may be true or it may not be true, but I don't want a confrontation. I don't want to cause any waves. And you end up holding it in and resenting it. And this is where those drawing your boundaries comes, and being true to yourself. And so when that does happen to you, what I want you to do is I want you to stand up for yourself and go ahead and approach that person and say, you know, someone told me that you said this about me and it's not true, and I want you to know that it's not true. And then that way you're setting a boundary. And it's very important that you do that for your self-care. And what I want you also to do is, if you have a situation where you're sitting at a table and with teammates or friends or whatever, and somebody tries to start a conversation with you talking about someone else, all right? And what you need to do is you need to draw a boundary there and say, stop, I don't want to listen. I'm not going to be involved. And keep yourself, have a boundary in between you and that other person who may be telling stories about someone else. And the reason I'm telling you this is because these are actual things that have happened over the last few days to people close to me and on our team. And as a team, it's important that we stand up for ourselves, and it's important that we stand up for someone else on our team when we know something isn't true that's being said about them. So you're wondering, how does this relate to stories? Well, when I was reading the chapter 4 in Mary Christensen's book, it talks about telling your story. And what I want you to do is I want you to remember this is your story, okay? And I want you to be honest about who you are, and bring on that fun, you know, bubbly, shiny side of who you are when you're working on this chapter this week. And, you know, I mean, all of us want to write, okay, well, I was a rocket scientist, but I got tired of figuring out how to make the flames bigger, so now I sell Scentsy, and I do this part-time. We all want to make our stories be big and, you know, flamboyant, but they are when they're real about you. So I want you to keep that in mind, okay? So one of the things, I'm going to read off some notes, like I said, because I didn't memorize this. So some of the things that I want you to remember is that you need to interact with your audience when you're at a party or at an event, or even one-on-one. And you need to respect them and try to keep them engaged, all right? And remember that less is more, okay? People don't want every single detail of every warmer, of every wax and its flavors, or of everything about how you started Scentsy. They want the skimming over part that's interesting, but they don't want the details, because what will happen is you'll lose them. And then if you can make it fun about you, then they'll see that you are fun, okay? And they will interact with you, and they'll stay more engaged. So this is going to be your business story, and it's important that you write it about you. And she talks about how you write, I am da 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 da, but da 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 da, so da 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 da. Okay, and you guys will get that da 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 when you read the chapter. And that's what I want you to start doing. And this week I actually want you to write 3 different ones. And all of them about you, but I want you to write them in 3 different ways. Because what will happen is you'll have parties that people will blend over in, and they would like to hear a different story. You know, it can be the same meaning, but it can be a different story. So anyway, lighten it up if you start losing your audience. If they start chatting, okay, what you can do is you can involve them by asking questions. And what I mean by that is, okay, girls start chatting amongst themselves, and either they have a catalog or they don't have a catalog, and go, hey ladies, I got a question. And most of the time everybody will look up, and if they don't have a catalog, give them a catalog, right? And say, okay, if you could own any warmer in the catalog, which one would it be and where would you put it? And so what that does is that engages them into that catalog, and they're looking, and then you have them share. And instead of them sharing amongst themselves about, you know, the baby's diaper was dirty this morning and I just couldn't get to it fast enough or whatever, they're sharing with each other about Scentsy and sharing with you, okay? You can also ask them a question like, or tell them, you know what, my favorite scent is lilacs and violets, and it's because it brings back that memory of walking up my grandma's driveway and her having all of those lilac bushes. And every time I went to my grandma's, it was a good thing. So ask them what their favorite scent is and what their favorite memory is. This way you keep them engaged. You show them that you care about them being there, because that's the bottom line. You have to show them that you care, that they took the time to support their hostess and show up at your parties, and you want it to be fun. So this wasn't a whole lot of sponsoring tips or any other kind of tips today. It was more about being genuine to yourself and being genuine in your Scentsy story. And I think that's pretty darn applicable to this chapter. All right. I want to tell you guys, you're all doing a great job. I'm so very proud of you. Yes, I do look a little tired. It was quite the weekend at Manresa Castle this weekend. So, and I'm at my girlfriend's house. I have an audience. You hear the giggling in the background. Anyway, it was also a learning experience for me in a lot of ways, both business-wise and personal-wise. So everything we do with this business is a learning process, and I want you to all remember that. And you just keep plugging, and you keep learning, and we're all going to do this together. And oh, by the way, I'm going to plan a leadership program at Manresa Castle. It is haunted, but you know what? We made it. It was fine. Okay? I'll talk to you later. Bye.